I'm I'm in shock. I just got word that Ace Frehley died, and like, son of a bitch. I mean, and it's, it's only gonna get worse. I mean, none of us are getting any younger. Um, I am. I mean, look at my fucking house. It's Kiss shit all over the place. Like the first album I ever fell in love with. The first album. And I'm sure this will, if you go back, I'm sure I've said this at some point on the channel, was Kiss Love Gun. It's summer after my 8th grade year. I was just starting to get into music. I go live at my grandma's house with my cousin, and her boyfriend had a car. He was a 9th grader. And we rode around that summer, and he had like John Cougar in his car and Kiss Love Gun. And I fell in love with that album and became like this huge Ace fan. And I think Kiss fans can relate to what I'm going to say now. I love Gene and Paul, and I love Peter. But Ace was the everyman. Ace was the guy that you felt like you could relate to. Ace was the guy who you knew when the workday was done, he was grabbing a 6-pack and going out to hang out with his buddies. And no offense to the other guys, because they're amazing. Well, Peter maybe was doing that too, but Gene and Paul always felt like they were untouchable. You know, they were businessmen. Yes, they were rock and roll, but they were also, they were the smart guys who wore a suit and got up early and went and sat in meetings. And Ace Frehley just wanted to rock and roll. And I remember watching Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park when I was 6. I think I was 6. It was in October of 78. I turned 6 October 24th of 78. I was in kindergarten. And I was like, what the shit is this? I went to school. The next day we had school. I went and told the teacher that I watched Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park and how Kiss were these great superheroes. And my teacher told me that KISS stands for Knights in Satan's Service. and looking back on it, it's hilarious now because you would learn that they were so not that way. But I feel like Ace was everybody's favorite. You know, it's no surprise that his solo album did so much better than everybody else's. And you could relate to Ace the most because you could see that he struggled. You know, Gene and Paul just seemed like up here. You couldn't relate to them. They were otherworldly. And I mean that as a compliment. But Ace, like, you knew that he got into car crashes. You knew that he probably drank too much. You knew that after Kiss, he struggled. He finally puts out his first solo album. When did the first Frehley's Comet album come out? 87, I think. He didn't do anything for like 5 or 6 years after Kiss. Finally puts out a solo album. It does okay. But you got the sense that the 80s, a lot of them weren't easy for him. And then the fucking early 90s, at least at the end of the 80s, he was always a rock star, but you knew that the shine was off Ace Frehley's career. Trouble Walking, those albums didn't do that well. And when grunge hit, you knew that it was impacting him. He's playing small clubs. He's not releasing anything. We're all wondering what the fuck happened. Well, you knew Ace Frehley was wondering too. And Gene and Paul just always pretended that everything was perfect. And again, that's not a dig on Gene and Paul. But Ace felt like one of us. Gene and Paul never felt like one of us. And so you knew when the reunion happened, that was like fucking, you were like, you felt happy because you knew Ace was going to get out of whatever hole he was in when the reunion happened, right? Like he was going to be back on top. And in a way that made you feel like things were okay. Because you related to Ace. He wasn't that different from you. You knew he was drinking too much. You knew I was drinking too much in the mid-90s. You knew he was struggling to get by. So when Kiss and Ace got back on top on the reunion, you felt happy for Ace. And then, eventually the old wounds open and Ace leaves. And you knew that, I hate to say it, I love Ace Frehley. But you knew, even when he was saying, I'm clean, I've been sober, I think it's pretty well acknowledged that, okay, he probably had periods of sobriety. But were they long periods? Was he not going back to using or pills or booze frequently? I'm pretty sure he was. Okay, if somebody can say definitively that I'm fucked up, fine. I'm speaking off the cuff. I'm trying to speak just of what I know and what I think about one of my musical heroes. I'm sure that addiction followed him until pretty close to the end. And I'm an addict. I quit drinking in 2004. Luckily, that stuck. But in 2014 or 15, if people didn't know, I started using, Adderall, Vyvanse, Speed, basically legal meth, and got lost in that. So, so I can relate to not being the perfect sober guy and keeping your shit together. Suddenly something comes in and you fuck up. And I'm sure that's what happened with Ace. Look, at least Ace made it. He's 74. And I think if you would have told Ace Frehley or any of us that Ace would have lived to be 74, we probably would have been like, wow, that's amazing. So, I guess I'm thankful for that. But it's just been a shit year or two. David Roach from Junkyard, CJ Snare from Firehouse last year, Ozzy, Ace Fincham a week ago, John Sykes, Jack Russell, that was last year, fucking David Johansen from the New York Dolls. And I get it. It's not like rock stars are immune from death. And some of these guys lived long lives. But it's just devastating when your heroes die. Like I'm surrounded by Ace Frehley stuff. And if I showed you the rest of my house, you'd see a lot more of it. There is more Kiss-related stuff in my house than any band. And Ace was always the one I related to, especially when I was younger. Uh, Ace, if you remember, is it the Tom Snyder show on Halloween? Was that 78 or 79? Ace is obviously just lit out of his mind. And I think he said later on he drank a shit ton of champagne and done a crap load of blow. And Tom Snyder's like, wow, everybody told me that Ace Frehley was going to be this shy, quiet guy. And Ace fucking just took over that recording. And you can see the anger in Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. Well, I think most of us, I know I was the first time I saw that, you were like, fucking you go, Ace. You know, Ace is rock and roll. Like, if that would have been me in my early days, I would have been drinking a bunch of fucking beer or something before I had to go on TV so I could loosen up. I would have been like Ace. Like, I need something to go do this show. And you know, Gene and Paul didn't. And you were like, well, I'm more like Ace. Like, I'm not good at speaking to 5 million people. I need a little loosening up back in the day. Now, when I got older and I got sober, did I understand where Gene and Paul were coming from? Yes. Okay? Was it hard? Is it hard to watch your favorite rock stars, your Vince Neils, your Jack Russells, your Ace Frehleys, your David Roaches? Did you start to go, come on, man, get it together? You know, you don't see old 80-year-old alcoholics. They die early. You know, get sober and stay around so selfishly we can continue to enjoy what it is you do. And I'm not saying that it's easy to get sober. It's not. You know, like, for a lot of people, they relapse time and time again. But you kept hoping that it would stick. And maybe Ace has been sober for the last couple of years. You know, I don't claim to know. I'm not on the inside with any of Ace Frehley's people. So maybe there were periods of sobriety. But you know that he damaged his body for a long fucking time. And it was gonna break down. Luckily, he made it to 74. Shit, I damaged my body. I mean, I got a DUI, and this isn't about me, but I got a DUI in 1999. I was a .27. I am sure, like, I already have some liver, not like big problems, but I did damage my liver. I smoked like a bastard. I bet I get COPD because I already get kind of short of breath from smoking for 16 years. So anyway, you know, like it generally isn't in the cards for people to drink and do that to their bodies and live a long time. And I know I'm getting off track. I'm bummed. Because Ace, he was one of us. He felt like the guy that I couldn't relate to Gene or Paul and Peter. I don't mean to shit on Peter, but you know, you felt like you could hang out with Ace and relate to him. So, you know, all our heroes are going. And Ace is one of my heroes. And it breaks my heart to do this. And I just wonder who's going to be next. Because we're not getting any younger. I'm 52. My mom is Ace Frehley's age. And I'm a fucking mama's boy. And when you start seeing people your mom's age go, you're heroes. And you know that that's around the corner. And it just... This is the hardest part about getting older, is knowing that the end is coming for so many people that you respect, that you love, that you look up to. So I don't want to turn this into, oh, here's the guru's advice. But when this shit happens, like, I know I'm going to call my mom after this and just be like, I'm so glad you're still here. Because my real dad, who I don't really know that well, he's 85. There is no way he is not around, or that he is around for much longer. My stepdad, who became my real dad, he's 82. He lives in a home. He can barely speak. His memory is gone. He just lays there. It's the saddest thing in the world. And that's a case, where you're like, I hope it happens soon for him, because there's no quality of life. So I guess I plan on reaching out to some people that maybe I haven't, and I tried to do that after Ace Fincham died. I feel like Ace died at his own hand, and so I tried to reach out to some people after that and check in on them, people who I hadn't talked to for a while. And with Ace going, I just need to feel like I need to remind some people that you are important, and I hope you stay around, and let's, try to make the best of whatever time it is we have left, because we're not getting any younger. Our heroes are falling by the wayside, and with what time we have left, I hope we use it to pay our respects to the people who are still out there doing it. For people who watch this channel, let's make these last years of rock and roll and music, this thing that has changed our lives so much, let's make them the best we can. Rest in peace, Ace Frehley. I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry.